So it's October the 24th, 2025, and it's been on my mind and in my heart to speak out about what's happening in my country at the moment with regards the insanity that is going on behind the scenes in terms of dangerous immigrants. I'm not just speaking about immigration, I'm speaking about dangerous immigrants that are being let loose all over the streets of Ireland. And we've had case after case of serious incidents, particularly in the last few weeks alone, of children that have been under the care of Child Protection Services, known as TUSLA here in Ireland, that have somehow ended up in these IPAS centres. The most recent one was of a 10-year-old girl who ended up she was in the care of TUSLA. She somehow ended up in one of these IPAS centres, one of the biggest IPAS centres in Dublin, I believe. It's known as City West. It used to be a hotel in Dublin City, and it's now turned into one of the biggest IPAS centres, which houses many of these foreign immigrants. And let me just say, some of them, have come here and, they want to work, they want to maybe try and integrate into our society, but there's also a lot of them that are seriously dangerous people. And it's been proven over the last week with the rape of this alleged rape, let me say, but of a 10-year-old girl who ended up somehow in this IPAS centre and allegedly was raped by a 30-year-old man of, I believe, African origin. And this man was actually supposed to be deported from Ireland back in March of this year, 2025, and remained in this IPAS centre in Dublin, despite orders to be deported, and yet he still remained in this IPAS centre, where I believe there's other young children as well. There's a lot of families as well in these IPAS centres, so there are other children in these places, and then there's these dangerous men. And so Dublin residents, have just been protesting the last week, and it's turned violent. Apparently, one of the Garda vehicles was set on fire. And I would like to say that, there's a big question mark over whether this was actually people from this protest, because we do know that there's inside jobs happening to make these protests seem a lot more violent than they actually are. But obviously there's a lot of anger, and you can see that from the footage. This footage has gone viral all over the world, and you can see and hear the anger, and rightfully so, in everybody who was at these protests. You can hear the anger and the sheer frustration in all of their voices, because we're just not being listened to. And I have just something to say about the protests, which is, I definitely believe that they do serve some sort of purpose in letting the government, and they let each other know, that there are now thousands of people up in arms about this crazy, insane immigration open borders policy, where anybody is let in and anybody is let loose on the streets, completely unvetted. And so, I do believe that people gathering does serve some sort of purpose. It just lets them know that we're taking a stand. But I also believe that protests don't really serve any other purpose. like they don't achieve what we want them to achieve. And I know that we have to do something. We have to get out and we have to do something. So I have so much respect for everybody going to these protests, and I've attended previous protests myself, and you do get that sense of at least some sort of sense of empowerment in numbers. But I also believe that we need to be a lot more strategic in the way that we deal with this. I believe that, you know, the government here in Ireland are actually aiding and abetting terrorists, rapists and serious criminals to walk free on our streets, and they are not taking any proper security or safety measures to make sure that they're deported or at least detained until they're properly rehabilitated. God knows where these people have come from and what kind of trauma they've come from, but that certainly doesn't mean that they should be let loose on the streets here in Ireland. The people here are so traumatized just by the actions of the government over the last 5 years. I mean, I could go on and on about some of the things that have happened over the last 5 years, but they're basically also forcing the population into poverty, with just endless tax upon tax, and the young people can't even afford a roof over their heads. Everything here in Ireland is just sky high. But back to the thing about the protests, I believe that we need to be even more strategic, and I believe that we need to actually audit the government, that the people of Ireland can actually audit and investigate the government. That includes the Minister for Justice, the Minister for Children, all members of the Dáil, especially the Taoiseach, and all other high up members of the Dáil who are basically aiding and abetting these terrorists to walk our streets. And I actually believe that the government here are a terrorist operation myself. They're not safe to be in any kind of public capacity. They have completely annihilated their fiduciary capacity. We have, well, to be honest, most people didn't vote them in, and that's a whole other story for a whole other day as well. It's clear that most of us just want to wipe the slate clean. Even the other opposing parties, they're all sort of from the same playbook at this stage. But basically what I'm trying to say is that they need to be held accountable. That includes TUSLA and the CEO of TUSLA. That includes the members of An Garda Síochána, who have an oath to protect the people of Ireland. That includes the Minister for Justice and the Minister for Children. And they should all be investigated and audited. And the people of Ireland can do that. And I believe that is the strategy that we should follow at this stage. And I believe that they should be put on notice. And even when they are made to step down, because they will be made to step down, because they've awoken a rising in this country, and we're not going to stop until justice is done at this stage. But I believe we need to save our energy and put it into something more strategic. Like, the people need to get together en masse and start an audit and demand an audit and demand an investigation into all these people. So I'm talking about the CEO of TUSLA and the high board members of TUSLA. I'm talking about the Minister for Justice and the Minister for Children and the Taoiseach and the Taoiseach here in Ireland, and that they should all be investigated and made to step down. And even when they are made to step down, I believe that they should be held accountable, every single one of them that has aided and abetted this absolute terror to ensue. I mean, how many years has this abuse of children been going on in our country, and it's still going on in broad daylight. So this is for the children of Ireland, and this is for the people of Ireland. I believe we need to wipe the slate clean and start a whole new government run by the people, for the people of this island, because the government here do not have our best interests. In fact, I believe they're actually evil to the core. There's no other word for them. And they've completely dismissed this situation. I mean, they're basically putting it out there on the news. All they're talking about is the violence that happened after the City West incident of this alleged rape and the response of the residents with this protest. All that they're talking about is the violence that's happened. They're not talking about what actually happened, why people are taken to the streets and getting violent at this stage. And I believe that we have every right to. But I also believe that it's not going to achieve what we want it to achieve, and that we do need to be more strategic, and that we do need to start to wipe the slate clean and start a whole new government, like I said, run by the people, for the people of this land, and that is possible. So I'm just sending love out to my brothers and sisters who are taking the streets, the brave people of Dublin and all over. And I commend you, but I'm also just saying that we need to think of other ways as well, because the last thing we want is for these brave men to be arrested, which is very likely that could happen, and then we don't have anyone to protect us. So we need to be more strategic, and I think we need to demand investigations by all involved, and when those investigations are carried out, that we also need to demand accountability, and that they should be taken off and taken out of the public arena, because they're clearly not safe to be in the public. They've completely, like I said, completely ruined their fiduciary capacities, and they're not safe. And I believe that we need to get the Navy, the military and An Garda Síochána to honour their oath and stand with the people of Ireland, because we're not going to stop until we get justice. It's absolutely horrifying what's happening in our country. And so I just felt that I had to speak about what was happening. And like I said, it was voting day here. I didn't vote for any of them. They're all playing from the same... They're all speaking from the same playbook as far as I can see. So I spoiled my vote. And let's just try and come up with new solutions for this. And let's demand justice at this point.